Nothing changes at this part. So I'm going to copy this from here to the side. And I'm going to draw a line across. I'm getting sick of these things coming up, so I'll get rid of them. And we type a line which is A-L-I-G-N. And we go from this point here to here, and from here to here, enter, and then no, we don't want to scale it. So we've now got the basis ready for our first cross section. Or have we? No, we haven't, because we're going to be doing the cross section along some lines from the platform. So what we do is we draw a line from the platform here to here, and from the midpoint here across to the midpoint on the other side. So these lines here are going to be our cross section, not the pipeline like I just did. Okay? So we're going to use these lines and not the pipeline. Now how far do we extend it? I reckon we offset that by, why don't we make it 8 meters? So I'm going to do a P line on top of this here to help me, and I'm going to offset by 8 meters. It doesn't mean to say it'll fit on the page, but that is how far I'm going to extend my cross-section lines. Now I'll go to the extend command, click on that, and then just, click on that, and then just extend these lines out. Now, I think you need to listen to this very carefully. I'm going to do a cross-section along here, looking that way, and I'm not going to demonstrate it today, but I want your other cross-section to look that way. All right? Which means you've got to put flags somewhere, doesn't it? Do you put it on the existing plan or the proposed plan? The proposed plan. Because if you put it on the existing plan, you can't, unless you want to do your cross sections for assignment 2 and hand them in this Sunday, you've got a problem, haven't you? So not on the existing plan, right? Okay. So we've still got to rotate this around. So what we should have done was done this first, then drawn those lines on, and we should have gone a line, grab everything, and this time it's from that point to that point. I'm sorry, do it again, I'm going a bit nuts today. Align everything from that point to that point, and from that point to that point. Enter, and it says scale N for node. Alright, so now we've got it all lined up, ready to go. You'll notice this line goes through the pipeline. So our squash rugby ball is going to be between there and there. This side, it's behind us, so we don't need to draw it. And this side needs to be hidden, because it's in the dirt in front of us. Right? Okay. So I'll start drawing lines up here. Now it's very easy to do this because you just do the numbers that are in front of us. So 41.5. We do a line from here, 42. A line from here, 42.5. A line from, I don't know about there, 43. A line from here, 43.5. A line from there, 44. 44.5. 45. 45.5. 46. 46.5. 47. 47.5. notice that the lines are now a lot less steeper than on the long section, because that's what it looks like. Now I'm going to draw a line up from the platform. What is your platform? Please, it's 43.45. Thank you. So one half mark for that. To help. 43.5. Alright, now this bit here is really easy. We're going to do a line from here. Let's see, 1 and 1, and back down again, and extend that line to that point there. And we'll do a line across here, 2, and down 1. So that's really easy because it's the natural slope.
I thought the first one was supposed to be half the distance.
No, there's no halves, no holes, it's all natural. So it's 1 to 1, and it's 2 along and 1 down. Okay? So don't forget that when it comes to your cross section. Now, over here, it's like one of those cooking shows, just pretend I'm the master chef. So I've master chefed a tree from my long section, and it's way too big for my cross section, but I'm going to put it there anyway. I'm going to copy it over here. There it is. And where am I going to put it? I'm going to put it, that tree is between 41.5 and 42, let's call it 41.8. So I draw a line from here down, perpendicular to here, and then I go up 41.8. So this line here, right at that point, is where my tree needs to sit. That point there. So how do we make this tree disappear? Oh, I'm sorry. How do we make this into a block and come back on with a Y factor that's half, just like what you said before? In a minute for that. To make a block, we type block. B-L-O-C-K. That's pretty easy. Block. And we come up with this dialog box here. The dialog box asks us to pick a point that we want the block to come back in on. So a logical point would be that point that I've just put in there. And it's also saying select the object. You'll notice when I do that, there'll be a, I'll need to give it a name, and then we'll get a little photograph of it and go OK. Now what that does is it puts a block of the tree in your drawing. It's kind of weird. It won't be anywhere else. Don't know if you can find it. It's only in my drawing. Right? If I went W block, then I would make a whole new drawing of that block, and I could put it somewhere where I can access it. I could put it in the cloud and other people could access it, whatever. I'm making a whole new drawing out of that tree. But in this case, I'm only making it in the drawing because it's easy to bring it back in again. So, let's do it. Let's call it, I won't call it tree, it's a bit too simple. There's bound to be one in this drawing from years ago, so I'll call it tree 100. Here we are. And I'll select a point for it to come in on. So that point, I'll select the object. Okay, I've done, I'm happy with that, enter. And now I'll pick a point. And the point will be right there. See the little picture of it?
Oh, wow.
Isn't it pretty? Okay, go okay. Now, nothing's happened to that tree. It stays on your long section. That's fine. Now we want to bring it back and put it in our cross section. So to do that, we need to go insert, block, and look at that, it defaults straight to the tree. If it's not there, it'll be one of these ones here that's been made in your drawing. Students often say to me, how did you catch me cheating? And I say, well, you've got 7 blocks in your drawing, and they're exactly the same as your friends. You don't know it, but you accidentally make blocks as well while you're grafting, when you draw it, okay? So, I mean, it's not the only way. We've got 15 ways of doing it. This is one. But it's one of the more basic things that students do at this level when they're cheating. So I've just put the tree there. I'm happy with it. But what I need to do is adjust something there. Can anyone see what I need to adjust? The height, which is wide. Make it 0.5. And we go, okay, there it is, my little stumpy, let's put it here, and that's it. Now, a lot of you are saying, hold on a minute, Roger, that part of the tree's below the ground, and it needs to be dashed, and you're correct, thank you for telling me that. And because this is one big tree, and when I click on it, everything's all part of one entity, I've got a problem. But I don't have a problem, because all I need to do is press this button over here, which says, and by the way, if you're thinking of going for a ride on an aeroplane with your laptop, do not press this button on the plane. Explode. And when I explode that, it explodes into little parts. There we are, look. See? So I can now make that last part of the line, and probably the bottom part too, a dash line. So I can change that. If you want to know how to break it, you just go to the break command over here. Just click on here. Oh, sorry. Go to that one. Click on there. And click there. And then just drag that back down to here. So we've now got totally separate lines. And we can put on another layer. Now that's just where my tree comes in. Your tree might go above the ground or anything like that. But there we are. So believe it or not, that tree there is a short stumpy version of the other one. So that's how you do a block. You block it out of the drawing and you block it back into the drawing at half the scale. Now, interestingly enough, this is a function that we use a lot in AutoCAD, and it's something you might be using in industry. Let's say you're drawing up a site and there are 500 trees on the site, and you do a really bad tree symbol like the one I've given you, this one. And the client says, loved your drawings, not going to pay you any money until you change all those trees. And you're thinking, I'm going to change it, then I'm going to copy it 500 times around the drawing. Let's say it was 500,000 times. Believe it or not, in AutoCAD, I can change that in under 5 seconds. There's a command called redefine. If you redefine a block in a drawing, you can very quickly draw another tree up the way the client wants it. You can go redefine block. What's the block called? In this case it would be tree 100. What do you want it to look like? You click on the new design and go enter, and all 500,000 trees will change to the new design. And you can go to the pub for the rest of the week because you've already charged the client for a week's worth of work. So blocks are very, very powerful things. You can embed information into them, and you can redefine them at any stage in the drawing. I've just touched on that. I'm glad I did, because it's given you some more tools when you go into the workforce. So in summary, just before I break off, we started today over on this part of the board. We talked about the differences between the cross section. These red things here are only some of them. There's 2 or 3 others too. Very important. You've got to get your text and your arrows the right size. We also talked about when I drew it there, I didn't have to do that whole thing where you made the vertical longer all the time. Therefore, you don't need to worry about your dimensions and that. They're all going to be normal. So that's good as well. We went on to talk about roading. Oh, sorry, I talked about the assignment, and I said you'll have to do 2 very nice drawings for me, which I started one there. the tree and everything else, which I'll be marking, and if you don't take the tree from your long section, there is a little column in my marking that has got at the top of it, tree not taken from long section. That's all I'm saying. You're going to need to do about 8 of these. I would suggest maybe 9 or 10. They're only little line drawings, so all you will require, when we look back on here, is this top bit. Don't need the trees, you only need basically that bit there. That line around there, if you're going to do an area, you go P-line. Just giving you a bit of revision here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You list the P-line and that gives you L-I-S-T, wish I could spell. That gives you the area. In this case it's 3.8217. So that's my first area that I can use on those line drawings. Right? If you're going to do a whole series of cross sections, and I will cover a little bit of this next week, but I would suggest you offset around about 2 metres. And that would give you a good, probably around about 1.5 metres. And that'll be a good amount to do a section every 1.5 metres. The section is no different than the way you did it then, it's just that it'll be along a different line, alright? So you need to do around about 8 minimum of those, and then that'll be worth 1 mark. So it's a fairly easy mark to get. And you'll be getting a half a mark for putting that into my spreadsheet, and you get half a mark for summarising it with a geotechnical compaction factor. I will explain the compaction factor, and it'll be up to you to decide whether you take it off or put it on. And it's to do with whether it's cut or fill. Most of you will get it wrong. It'll be quite interesting. That's quite a hard